Hey, this is Ed Rigsby, and I'm here with another CAE relevant educational course. Today I have Frank Bucaro. Frank has been teaching ethics for 39 years. He's a Hall of Fame speaker. He speaks on ethics, morals, and values in the workplace. And at the end of this course, he's going to talk to us a little bit about the articles he writes and his podcast. Um, but I want to jump into it, but to remind you, if you want the certificate of participation at the end of this course, you'll be offered to take the test. It's a 10 question true and false test. It's not hard. It's not meant to trip you up or anything like that. It just, we have to prove to ASAE that you actually did watch the entire course. And after you take and pass the test, a certificate of participation will be sent to you that you can either use for when you're getting ready to sit for the ASAE CAE course or CAE certification, or when you're going to renew. Remember, every 3 years when you renew, you have to have 2 hours of ethics training to renew. So this course will help you with one of those 2 hours. So with all of that, Frank Bucaro, the microphone is yours. Take us off. Lead
All
us
right. Thank
into.
you, my friend. Thank you for inviting me to share some of my insights with AI and ethics. Um, and I've actually, tell you the truth, had started with AI myself with my business. And I have like 20 years of articles, and now I put them on AI and they rewrite it for me. So I'm learning step by step myself, but realizing that it's my material, so there's no issue, ethics issues, etc. But I'm starting to learn it myself, and I'm going to share some of what I've learned and some things that may want to think about as we go through our business. The European Commission of Artificial Intelligence in their research said this: the ethical purpose for AI is used to indicate the development, deployment, and the use of AI, which ensures compliance and fundamental rights and applicable regulation, as well as respecting core values and principles. That spoke to me from an ethics perspective. There's a link between AI and ethics. However, AI to me is a tool. Ethics is the purpose. And how do we blend that? So I'm going to share with you some of ideas that we use in AI that will keep us value-based and principle-driven in our business and in our work. The Capanini Research Institute found most executives, they said 77%, are uncertain about ethics and transparency in their AI systems. Executives in 1 out of 10 organizations are aware of at least one instance that the use of AI systems resulted in ethical issues. I'm going to talk about that today in my part. The pressure to implement AI is fueling ethics issues. There's a link that we have to bring between AI and ethics. And so I'm going to share some ideas, just kick around some ideas, some insights, some how-tos, be aware of, because it's important to do the right thing at the right time for the right reason. One of those is missing. You're missing the boat on decision making that's really going to make a difference in your people's career, their lives, home life, as the spiral begins to grow. So let me begin with this ethical AI must be a leadership priority and make AI accountable. If we don't make people accountable for what they say, do, etc., then you begin to shatter the framework. Um, because ethics is more of value-based, principle-driven rather than a sentence and either I do it or I don't. It's more, should I think about this a little bit more? Um, I'll give you an example. There's a thing that I use called the PTP factor. You must consider, what is your price to pay for what you're going to do? Don't make the decision until you can answer that. What is your PTP factor? What is your price to pay? And it can be good or it can be negative. The key thing is, don't let your emotions dictate the behavior that maybe that'll work. I just read your stats. It didn't. They were having problems with their AI, etc. And there are dangers with AI and how we use it, like reputation or employee relationships or security or profit margins or whatever that can kind of taint the purpose of AI. AI gives you information. Ethics tries to help you translate it into the proper approach in making that decision. Uh, to me, as an ethics guy, it's two sides of a coin. You got to look at them both. That ethics becomes a differentiator, not a constraint. It's got to be seen in a positive way, which means AI must be seen as a dependable partner in how we do the business and why. AI is changing on how we coach, how we develop, and how we measure leadership skills. But it's got to be value-based and principle-driven as we look at how things develop and become. And if you look at that price to pay factor, one of the things we need to do, and that human beings don't do very well either, is how to control your emotions that can lead us to making the wrong decisions. And then I'm sorry, doesn't work. The damage has been done. And it's more of, I think, what AI says, let's just sit back here and think about this for a minute. What will be possible, what I call the PTP factors, and are we willing to pay it? Are we willing to gamble on that decision?
Let me ask a couple questions.
Sure.
So taking this, and I'm looking, at the trade association executives that are watching this and the professional society executives that are watching this. So looking at where their organization is going to be using AI, okay, the CEO will use it for various things. The different staff, the departments, particularly the marketing department and maybe the communications department, and also the volunteer leaders. Where are you seeing that some of the stumbling blocks that these people maybe aren't realizing as they're trying to use AI to keep up with what's going on? Hell, I even used AI last Valentine's to write my wife a Valentine card. Was that ethical? I don't know, but she really liked it. Maybe it wasn't 100% ethical, but 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 AI took me out of a rough spot. Anyway, I'm looking where more and more, and James Feldman,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
and he's done a couple courses that people have watched on how to use AI and the different which tools are best for what. But I'm wondering, what are some 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 cautions that you might have for specific groups of people, the association executives, the association staff, the association volunteer leaders, where they might be using AI? That would be really helpful to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, I'll go back to one of the analogies that I use that um, decision making is a three-legged stool. You have your morals, your ethics, and your values. If one of those is missing, you don't have a stool. And that those three must be part of the discernment of AI in the ethics as purpose. Morals, some people can get, you know, off on this, but it's doing the right thing at the right time. It's being honest. It's simple moral issues type things, which, by the way, I've never seen in a mission statement or hanging on a wall in a company or anything. It might take them to the next level because of some of the things we're dealing with. There are other things too that we need to be aware of, and I think it'll answer some of those questions. That we need to understand that leadership is no longer having all the answers, but about asking better questions. And
Okay.
that's where you build community with your people. Okay. Employees are rejecting a hustle culture and seeking purpose-driven leadership. I'll be happy to follow. Explain to me why I'm on board instead of the law or compliance, etc. Which reminds me, for a lot of the years I was out there working in different companies, there were people that had the title developer of ethics and values and legal in one person. I said, you can't do that. You can't mix up the law and values. They can work together, but one person cannot handle both of those. I mean, think about compliance, VPs of compliance. Their role is the law. God bless them. They got to do with the organizational, et cetera. And then sometimes they load ethics on them. And you can't give ethics value because it's a stepchild. And I still see that in some companies. You watch the news on what's going on all over. When's the last time you've seen the word ethics pop up uh, politically,
Mhm.
legally, etc.? And yet it's important in the workplace. That's what's going to make employees empowered to be part of what the culture now is becoming. Um, uh, Leaders now are being forced to lead with more emotional intelligence than ever before. And how many courses have any of us had in emotional self-control? We got to do that. We have to do that. And the old top-down leadership model is breaking down. It is gone. People want collaboration. They want to be participants in the decision making, not just control. And if we take the concept of ethics into those issues, um, uh, we're going to change the scenery of what the workplace is all about. And I think we have to do this for a couple of reasons. Number one, for those who are now in the workplace, but number two, for those that are in college, who this may not be very familiar with, needs to be part of the business development process. Not as oh, and yes, we're going to talk about ethics or we're going to talk about values. This is what makes us who we are in 2026. Change your mission statement if it's 20 years old. It's irrelevant. Could be, change your values if they're not working, etc. And it's a challenge for leaders to kind of step up and kind of look at this. And have you had the three-legged stool? Think about this. Ethics is only judged by behavior. The other two, internal beliefs, values, etc., that make the behavior work because it has a good basis. Just a couple of thoughts, that I use in some of my talks as well. I said,
Mhm.
management is doing things right, leadership is doing the right thing. How do you know what the right thing is if you don't get into the ethics, the morals, and the values? And morals are principles. Once again, I don't want to give any religious connotation. Um, I'm sorry, a corporate purpose of benefiting customers engenders the highest level of moral leadership. That's how you keep customers. I've got an auto mechanic. I wouldn't leave until he dies because of his honesty, how he does business, always checks in if something needs to be. I mean, it's just the little things of a moral. I owe you to explain this to you. Thank you. Yes, then I can get a better grasp on it. I think business ethics is the consistency between the practices of the company and one's moral philosophy.
Let me ask you. So I'm thinking what you're saying, and here's what's going through my head. I'm thinking companies like Patagonia. Okay, Patagonia is a outdoor clothing equipment company. They used to be called Great Pacific Iron Works. They're in Ventura, which is a half hour from me. But they have raging fans. Um, I think there's two key reasons. One is because what their mission on the planet is, and also two, their mission to the customers that every product is at such high quality, they guarantee it for life. So I'm wondering, Frank, when we take this idea to where a company like Patagonia has
Mhm.
has raging fans because of their values, their morals, and the ethics. How do we translate that to a trade association or a professional society to where they can have these raging fans? And and part of that, when you said that, I'm trying to understand, you said if your mission needs to be changed, change it. I'm thinking when you said that, okay, in clothing, there's fashion and there's style. Style doesn't change. Fashion changes in cycles.
Mhm.
So in a trade association's mission, their tendency tends to be more style, not changing with the times, but keeping their mission. So how do we how do we advise them to look at what they're doing, and as you said, to possibly change their mission to create something to where the staff want to stay, and more importantly, the members want to stay, and the members want to bring new members. How does the ethical landscape affect that?
Well, my
I know
personal,
that was a mouthful.
yeah. I think it's how of what you're preaching benefits everybody. Um, take look at your list of do's and don'ts in your business or whatever. I mean, or the mission statement. I can't tell you how many mission statements I read that are like 10, 15 years old. Uh, and no one reads them on a wall. You may get them if you're a new employee and maybe get 5 minutes. Just read that on your own, but you start tomorrow at 7 a.m. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's how we treat people, regardless of what their stage is in the business. Uh, that really sends a message, whether I want to stay, I'll kill some time, do I find something else, uh, or whatever. Because trust is earned. You don't give it. You have to earn it. And I think it's not the difference between people that causes problems. It's the indifference. It's, well, this isn't important. I really don't care. If if I do this, you won't tell anybody, will you? It, you know, will you punch me in a little bit early because I'll be a little bit late? Whatever the case might be. Um, it's uh, and it engenders on who and what group are the end result of all that you do in this company? The customer and their perception. And perceptions are neither right nor wrong. They just are. And you don't get a second chance. And so, you know, and the other thing is, and personally, people have to start thinking is, if I'm not what I want others to be, then shut up till I become
Mhm.
what I
Yeah,
want to be. We have to take some personal responsibility for our attitude and our values. If you are not what you want others to be, then shut up. You're not in control. Um, and maybe you need to do some work and do some internal, thinking, because a lot of times, particularly in the business world, people listen with their eyes, not with their ears.
sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How you treat people, how you talk, how you come into a meeting, how
Yeah.
reveals the values of the individual or values they have not taken up yet to see the value of. Now, who's going to tell them that? Got me. If you got a nice group and you can sit down and talk to the next level and share what's bothering your soul, your heart, whatever, then good. Things will go different. If it comes down from on high, from command, I'm just going to do what you told me to do. And that's all I'm responsible for. But it affects morale, attitude, clock watching. I mean, a lot of other things that are negative that will burst this bubble.
Yeah. So leaning back into the AI challenges we're having today, because there's so many thousands of AI programs and AI agents and um, um, things being built. Are you fearful that as these AI programs and agents are being built, that ethics are not part of it?
Yes. Um, and ironically, I just read an article earlier this morning how important it is for the VPs of compliance to get into AI
Mhm, mhm.
to find the value of what you bring into the workplace in a practical way that makes sense to your employees. I don't think we have a whole lot of VPs of compliance that have done anything in AI yet.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think that's a real challenge
Now,
of personhood.
our audience with the trade associations, the professional societies, I, I, I don't know that they have any VPs of compliance. I'm thinking, trying to think through. So there's a lot of chief operating officers out there.
Hmm.
There's a lot of uh, uh, yeah, there's a lot of the COOs. There's a number of HR people. So in and then you got the CEOs or executive directors. So where taking this from the corporate side to the nonprofit side,
Hmm.
where do we have the challenge? Um, is it that the CEOs need to have more focus? Is it the COOs more focus, the HR more focus? Where in the nonprofit world would you guess um, is the critical juxtaposition of okay, this is where AI needs to be focused and emanated from. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would think nonprofits are more value-based and principle-driven than maybe other organizations because of what they stand for. It does, uh, logically speaking, I would presume that they've had at least some more than others. The key thing is for the nonprofit group, how are you instilling what you've learned is now practical in the workplace, and that people are getting the message not by what you say, but who you are.
Okay.
Bingo. Okay. For the corporate, that's a tough nut because research points out that the most dangerous place to be in the uh, list of leaders is frontline management because they get it. Whatever it is, they're on the front line. Who's working with them on AI and looking at an empowerment of it could be a workshop, it could be a reading, something that will give different levels an approach to AI based on ethics, morals, or values that meet the needs of their people. If if leaders, and I use that in a very general term, if
Sure.
leaders don't meet their people where they are value-based wise, you're going to have problems because that's the main turf. If we all believe in those values, if we all believe in this, that this will turn out this way, and we all participate, I'm in. But they're going to be doing what? Well, that's going on. They're going to be looking around and seeing, well, that's not what you told me yesterday. You told me to, and so it's one thing to plow the ground, it's another thing to plant it carefully.
Mhm.
And I think that's where we need to start on every level of leadership.
Okay.
What's your responsibility? How have you been handling it? Where do you think it needs to get pumped up and why? And then it's up to who's ever in charge of the whole thing to provide that type of insights, training, experience that they can take that and move it down to their people. So now you have hopefully a division of completely trusting each other people because we've all had the same training. We had a chance to express our frustrations, our fear, whatever. And that can be done on a quarterly basis. It could be done, and it doesn't have to take long,
Mhm.
but it takes the leader to say, well, it's now been 3 months. What do you think about what I've shared with you 3 months ago and how it's affecting our division today? And get ready, because hopefully you'll get a lot of positives, but the leader's got to focus on the negative, put it within the context then of values. Does it reflect the values that this company stands for? If not, why do it? Uh, didn't you sign this when you worked here that this is going to be how this was going to work? If not, tell me. We'll work together to get this thing done. We got to change, I think, the definition of leadership somehow.
Yeah, one of when we're talking about leadership, one of the big problems that uh, association CEOs talk to me about, and and like I said, I mean, every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, I'm running my association CEO group on Zoom, and I'm hearing a lot about, the challenge between volunteer leaders that maybe have hidden agendas,
Mhm.
um, and the challenge between, you know, paid association executives trying to guide their organization And as we're entering into the age of AI, to where there's there's an AI note taker for the meeting. There's an AI invitations for meetings. Everything around the relationship between paid association CEO and volunteer leaders, everything driving the relationship. There's so much AI now. It seems like there's a lot less one-on-one. How would you counsel an association CEO dealing with this disconnect to try to, let's call it, reconnect or keep human relationships as at the forefront? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. There is a division. And the only people that can really um, start this whole thing are the CEOs of the upper level. Um, because to get cooperation, one must understand um, the mission statement or the role or et cetera within the context of my life, not his or hers. And
Okay.
so it takes some translation
Okay.
of it's kind of like, we were growing up and your parents would say, when I was your age, type thing.
Yeah.
Not that they have to say that,
Yeah.
but here's how the change is. And it could be saying something as simple as this. I've been CEO here for 10 years, and the changes, we really had to adjust to. And I want to tell you from my heart, there are times I really have to sit down and think about this. And I hope you would join me because I don't have all the answers,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
we're a team here. And you could take it all the way down to the new hire,
Mhm.
who's going to sit in on an hour or two of getting, here's where the restrooms are, here's where the lunchroom
Yeah.
is. Oh, no, by the way, type thing. It's getting rid of ego and
Got it.
getting into companionship
Mhm.
that and I believe me, I've seen this all over. We see we're a team here, and we have these banners, we're a team. And if I talk to somebody, I'll give you an example. I went to a company in New York not too long ago, and they brought me into the um, big cafeteria, and they had all these posters. What they used to be called accessories, but now it's another name type thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love is, it is. And I was talking to this mid-level manager, and I asked her, "So what do you think about all this on the wall?" And she says, "It's all BS." I said, "Why?" He says, "They just want us to read it. They don't believe it." Now, when you have a workforce I thought to myself, well, now what am I going to do
Yeah.
with this
Yeah.
group in my program when you have that kind of an attitude? And
Yeah.
it's still there.
Yeah.
It's in a lot of industries, organizations, associations, sometimes us and them,
Yeah.
I know more than you, yada, yada, yada. We got to get out of that thing. We're in this thing together. We depend on each other. We have different gifts. We have different talents. Celebrate, the differences that we have because they're useful to all of us. It's an entirely different way of looking at that. And I would bet 10 times out of 10, you do that, you don't have to worry about your values because you're already living them, because you're acting accordingly. And if everybody does that, the mission statement comes alive, the values come alive, and they encourage people to, you need a job? We have a job opening in our place. You're going to love working here. And it affects their personal life, their family life, their kids. I mean, what I call the moral spiral of
Sure.
decision making. Rather than hating where you have to go or do or whatever. And I still see some of that out there. I mean, particularly with the recession. I mean, look at the people unemployed who would give their eye teeth to have a job, and learn and adapt in their own lives because of what they've gone through, sadly, in what's going on in our country right now. But human worth, human self-esteem, we need to do more with the self-esteem building as well. Different gifts, different talents. Doesn't make one more important than the other. Both are important. Let's use them well because those that you've been trained or born with to use well for the benefit of others. We have to start looking, and I think AI gives us the channel to do that.
Mhm.
That's how I see AI. You got to get the ethics, the values, the morals, courtesies, etc. there first. Otherwise, AI doesn't mean anything. It's going to fall apart because there's nothing inside that's saying, I belong.
Mhm.
I belong here. And Alfred Adler, uh, former psychologist, great guy, talked about, self-esteem and feeling important about who and what you are and the gifts and talents that you have. The last thing you need to do is go into a workplace that doesn't care.
So, are you saying that um, today not enough leaders, whether we're talking nonprofit or for profit, are you saying that not enough leaders help their team with their self-esteem? Or,
Yes, that's
okay,
exactly what I'm saying.
and
Um,
why
and I
is that?
think, I'm sorry.
Why do you think that is?
Um, because I just read some research where, as I mentioned earlier, the
Mhm.
mid-level managers are the most susceptible
Okay.
to all kinds of conflict, uh, and they're afraid to go up
Okay.
because
Mhm.
upper level says you fix it, you're on the line, type
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
Alfred Adler said this. There are only five emotions: sad, mad, glad, scared, and hurt. That's it. Sad, mad, glad, scared, and hurt. The one you want to focus on most is scared. Scared of what? This is where meetings come in. Okay, we got a few new people here on our line. Let's have lunch together and let's just talk. Okay, Bill, you knew her 2 weeks ago. Tell us, how's it going? Any questions that you have? If you start lines of communication and you do it on not yearly, but
Mhm.
on a kind of regular basis, they're going to get comfortable with the questions that you're asking. And they have a right to ask you a question as well. You know, you take a look at our culture, think about it: sad, mad, glad, scared, and hurt. What do you see in the news? Sad, mad, scared,
Mhm.
hurt? See anybody glad? I mean, that's just looking at the news, for Pete's sake, not even in your neighborhoods.
I'm just writing that down in case that turns out to be a test question. Sad, mad, glad, scared, hurt. Test
Yeah.
question. What are the five emotions? Sad, mad, glad, scared, hurt.
Yeah,
Okay.
Alfred
If you're
Adler did that. I mean, it's not rocket science, it's human relationships. Human relationships. If I'm going to spend my life, of course, now it's changed. I mean, my father spent 30 years at People's Gas. Once you got a job, you didn't leave it after World War II. Now it's a whole different ball game, about rotating and,
yeah.
going here for 2 weeks and then maybe 4 months there and, et cetera. So I think there's more pressure now on organizations, of companies, of whatever, to step up right off the bat, not to set the rules, but to set the environment of what our company's all about. And I would suggest to go through the mission statements and the value statements on a regular basis, that you look to the internal. And once that changes, so does the external.
Frank, do you have any tips, tricks, thoughts so many trade associations and professional societies today have moved to the virtual office to where they don't get together around the water cooler like they used to.
That's
I
another,
mean,
yeah.
I'm their Zoom or Teams meeting once a week or whatever. What are your thoughts for helping for CEOs that are in a virtual environment with their team to create this, I don't want to use the word camaraderie, but to create this team feeling, this belonging feeling. Um, you know, how do they do it? How do they do it
I'm
when
so glad you asked because I've got a son-in-law that is doing that. I have a son-in-law who is high up in a insurance company in Chicago. He was told 2 years ago, you'll be working from home for the rest of your career,
oh wow,
and this is your team. He's brilliant. He has got a system down that all on all over the country, and it was his choice on creating a system of interviewing, etc. And he's kept his team, I think this is now his third or fourth year, together for 4 years. They're one of the top divisions in this insurance company because he's empowering, he trusts, but he set the tone of how this division's going to work since now we're all working from our homes. I'm in awe of this guy because he adapted and he took it so seriously to bring his division to the level that the CEO expected him to be. And he does, maybe once or twice a month travel someplace, but most of the time it's at home. And
when you
he's
say set the tone, are we talking um, sets the expectations? And the reason I'm asking this is because just today, one of my association CEOs was talking to me about a marketing person that has a team and just nothing's happening. So when you say sets the tone, I'm trying to understand, are we talking sets the tone of accountability, sets the tone of what's expected of the person, as far as production, you know, as opposed to sets the tone of busy work. I guess what I'm trying to
Yeah,
the somewhere between, okay, I want to make sure that person's working, as opposed to
yeah,
I want to make sure that person's effective.
yeah, yeah. So, they as I understand it, and I've seen him do this. I mean, the kid, my son-in-law is a
Ah,
pretty sharp guy. He's a kid as far as I'm concerned, I guess.
sure.
But he knows his people very well first
Okay.
before he brings them on board.
Okay.
And then builds on responsibilities to get to where the others are as well. And everybody knows everybody. I think he's got
Mm,
12 around the country. And they know that he's available. They know they can get a hold of him if needed, etc. But he makes sure that he's so clear on the expectations, why you bring your and it'll go, Tony, you're really good at this, and Beth, you're really good at that. Why we need to bring that tone together so that it helps me and our division function better to our customers, to our coworkers, and to the company.
okay. So,
It's his temperament and how he says it that really empowers his team.
Frank, before we finish up this workshop, I just want to take a little station break here and make sure that I ask you about your podcast and about your articles on LinkedIn. So, um, on LinkedIn, can they just look up Frank Bucaro to find
Yes.
you?
Yep. They can find
Okay.
me. Every Wednesday is an article that goes out to First Connections.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
If they don't want to be a First Connection, just have them link into me and I'll be happy to send them
okay.
what they may want.
So, and tell me about let's back up. So, if somebody reaches out to you, an association exec reaches out to you, and that's FrankBucaro, just
Mhm.
to make sure everybody knows how to spell it. If if somebody reaches out to you on LinkedIn, if they just connect with you first line, you're not going to be spamming them, but they'll automatically get your article on ethics every week.
If they ask for that,
Okay.
yes, yeah. I mean, if they just want to talk to me, that's fine. That's like getting an email,
Okay.
et cetera. Um, and there are
And since you mentioned email, what's the best email for people to get a hold of you? Since you
real
brought it up.
simple. Frank@frankbucaro.com.
Okay. So everybody knows that, Frank at frankbucaro.com. Bucaro. Just I'm sure everybody knows how to spell Frank. Um, I don't know. Maybe it's FRANC rather than K. I don't know. Because like Mark, there's a lot of MARCs
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
that's right.
So I guess
MARC.
maybe
Yeah.
there's an FRANC, but this is Frank, FRANK, traditional spelling. Um, so tell me what you talk about on your podcast.
It's all on different ethics issues. I've done work on behavioral ethics in articles. I also talk about morals and leadership in the workplace. Now, this is not, I don't want people to think this is a religious thing. It's not.
Mhm.
There are morals out there, that are not necessarily tagged with, Christian, Jewish, well, whatever, but just common sense. Um, and a lot of it's because of my training, my education, et cetera, that I bring the moral aspect into the workplace. That, values are one thing, and those are nice, but if you don't do anything with them, what good are they? Morality is maybe the uh, definition in the workplace of what those values are. And then you have to check, is this going to be the right behavior at this time that
Yeah.
we need to do that'll be ethical, upright, fair, and just? And that's how I came up with that three-legged stool analogy. You have to have all three. So I do articles on moral leadership, skills, insights, etc., behavioral ethics, as well, and then let them of those who read it take the information and adapt it to your business, to your style, to your group, to your department as you see fit. So I see myself as kind of like my attitude is, have you ever thought of this type thing in writing articles?
So kind of, I'm going to think out loud to you for just a second here. We're almost out of time, but association CEOs only have to take an ethics course, 2 1-hour ethics course every 3 years to keep their CAE up. It's not really much, is it?
It's not a, I my
And
here's my first reaction. It's not enough.
yeah, and that's exactly where I was going
Because
with it.
it's
And
it's theory. It's
yeah,
theory. It's not practical ethical applications that they should be learning.
so here is where I'm going with that. I would encourage everybody that's watching this. Okay, if you're an association CEO or an association executive, or it doesn't matter. Most of the people going to be watching this are people that either have their CAE or are trying to get their CAE. My encouragement to everybody watching this would be to connect with you on LinkedIn and get your articles. You do it weekly. Now,
Mhm.
maybe even if somebody doesn't read the article, it's just seeing your name and reading the title of the article that takes ethics down somewhere here that we don't think about,
Yeah,
bringing it to top of mind.
yeah,
And perhaps I should put my pen down. Per, perhaps um, something that would really serve everybody in this nonprofit space to help them make ethics part of their daily life, their work life, is to make it more top of mind and take advantage because you don't charge people for the articles, do you?
no, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
see, so
no,
so
no, 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 no,
just
no.
like we don't charge for these workshops, which is a stupid business model on my part, but you know what the hell. but but it's there, it's available, it's for the taking. And I
Yeah,
would encourage everybody to to get your articles on a weekly basis just to keep ethics on top of mind. And even if you do no more than read the title and skim through the first paragraph or two, it will help. Would you say that this is more the way to approach ethics rather than just once every 3 years taking two 1 hour courses?
yeah. Oh, yeah. And here's the definition of ethics that I use. Ethics is what you do when no one's looking.
Yes. Yeah.
That you've thought it through, that you realize the PTP. What would be your price to pay, positive or negative,
Yeah.
in looking at ethics? It's, you honest to God, watch TV, you watch the news, you never hear the word. You never hear the word ethics. Where are we going as a culture? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
how do we raise our kids? How do
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a moral spiral, what I call, of being aware, you know, act, think, ponder, do, rather than let your emotions dictate and do
Yeah.
it and then have, oh, I'm so sorry. I
Yeah.
didn't mean, too late, damage done type thing.
Yeah. Kind of like the person that spits back on Facebook before they think,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. I'm sure we all see posts on Facebook that's like, oh my gosh. And then you want to say something and then you're smart enough to go, yeah, I'll just keep it to myself.
Should I?
Well, well, that's a well, do I have permission to put a post? Yeah, I can put any post I want, but that doesn't mean I should put a
That's
post. But I think that kind of comes into the business world, the professional world. I think there's a lot out there that, yeah, I can, but should I?
Yep. Well, and I think that's where the PTP comes in. What's your
Yeah,
price to pay if you do or you don't?
yeah, I don't, I wonder if um, you talked about emotion a few minutes ago, and it seems to me that a lot of us allow our emotions to control us
Yeah.
much more than our logical brain. You know, we just get wrapped up in the emotion of the moment.
Because we were never trained to control them. I remember as a teacher, even years ago, I started in high school. Someone was upset. I said, "We need to take a break. So why don't you go down, get a drink of water, and when you calm down, come back and see me, and we'll deal with the issue."
Ah,
You know, rather than rant and listen to a kid rant, rave, juniors and seniors in high school at the time. No, no, no. Calm down, get a drink, come back. I'll be happy to talk with you. Let's talk about your grade.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, hey, Frank, before I close up this, any last words of wisdom you'd like to throw at the association executives watching this before?
well,
And
I
go
just
ahead.
hope they got a good idea or two, and well, maybe we'll try that, or that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I think if, they'll take a couple of my articles or whatever, they'll see my approach, because you always want to affirm the other while you're dealing with them. Never go after self-esteem. You go after the behavior
There
or
you
the
go.
attitude, not
Yeah.
the person. That's the
Well,
important thing.
well, thank you very much. And for
It's been my pleasure.
everybody watching, Frank's website, I think, is it frankbucaro.com? Is that your website?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can find Frank at LinkedIn. You can get his weekly article and you can listen to his podcast. Just remind everybody, thank you for being here. Don't forget, take the test. And some people tell me, well, I didn't see the test. Well, check your spam folder because everything comes from ed@rigsby.com. And if for some reason you have ed@rigsby.com blocked, you're going to get to take the test, or you're going to get your certificate. So don't forget to take the test. And if you can't find it, check your spam folder because that's generally what the problem is. Um, Again, Frank, thank you very much for being with us today. I
Well,
appreciate
thank
it
you, Ed, for
immensely.
inviting me. It's been a delight and a pleasure.
Absolutely.